Hey, how you doing? I figured that I would show and share what it looks like inside of the storage area or where I keep books that I sell online at eBay. No, I'm not a full-time online eBay seller. No, I do not have a front retail space. I've been selling books online since about like 1998 or so, and then I was doing a concrete brick and mortar store back in the mid 90s with my partner. He had 20, 30 years experience plus when I met him of selling books firsthand. So he did that in the 60s, 70s, 80s. And then in the 90s, we ended up opening up at a bookstore. And then we moved to online because of a whole kerfuffle thing. Anyways, I've been selling books online for quite some time. I have some background in the book trade. I'm definitely not a pro book seller at this point. I've been focused in other areas. However, I love books and I love to sell books. So I wanted to share a little bit about what things look like. You may look at this and be like, yo, that's a disaster area. How do you keep things organized? Good point, good question. But then there's also what's the ROI on how much time you spend organizing things and how big your stock is. So I'm going to walk through a little bit of this and hopefully some of this will make sense. If you look here, what you'll see is if we back up a little bit, try to broaden this, we have these significantly sturdy shelves, which are important, more of these big, significant, sturdy shelves. And as you can see, this is in a garage. It's got decent insulation on it. These shelves are pretty important. I'd say never go cheap on your shelves, especially with this way of storage. If you're going to be storing your books out in the open, where they can probably get more dust and stuff, or you have a high turnover, then definitely invest in some quality shelves, but you need stuff that can bear weight. Here, what you see is you see a bunch of these banker boxes with numbers. And basically when I list books, I list the shelf, which is actually the box number, and then I pop it in there. Sometimes these boxes are full and sometimes there's not. As you can see, it's not ideal when some of the books lean over, so you have to go through and check those every now and then. This is not an alphabetical organization. This is not, I can sort and easily find books by the same author visually, but I can search my inventory. Are there other ways to do it? Yes, possibly. The other reason why it's good is that sometimes you have inventory, like I've got a bunch of inventory up here that I've been holding on for about 15 years and may list in about 5 or 10 years. It's where you buy stock or you collect stock and then you know that you're going to be holding it for some time. In this case, most of this inventory was from our inventory as a store. And then when the personal collection that my partner and I built up after we closed the store. Here's some more of those books so you get an idea. There's also an important thing over here, this lovely white thing right there. That thing cleans the dust out of the air so you don't have too many particles running around. And I'm going to hit pause. So we actually, I guess you can see the kind of disaster, which is my garage. You may be like, oh man, that is a mess. And you would be right. But this is what it's like in part in selling books online. If you look up here on these top shelves up here, you can see I have different sizes of boxes that I bought off of Amazon or eBay in order to ship. I have more boxes over here along the edge. All of them have lids, so they're easy to slide out. One of the things that's difficult sometimes is that if you're positioned in a tight aisle and you turn wrong and you're old like I am, then you might actually hurt your back, which has happened. Up here, you can see some of those poster storage. Over here, this looks like a disaster and a mess, right? But what I'm doing is I'm saving these older Amazon boxes to ship in, because if you try to buy new boxes for oversized books, they can run anywhere from like 5 to 12 bucks depending. Then there's bags of different kinds of stuffing and packing material, because sometimes you need a big box where you have plenty of space around the edges and you need padding, material, and content. I recycle that. People save it for me. This isn't just a mess of cardboard. This is often what I use inside of the boxes in order to offer additional padding and or support, particularly to paperbacks. Up here, you can see some of these comic mailers right here. You have some other smaller mailers for other stuff that I'll be selling a little bit later. newspaper that I've saved up in terms of some bulk stuffing. But if we move back over here, again, you can see there's, some boxes of comics. These all have numbers. Some of them are full, some of them are half full. We have more boxes stuffed. So that's what a lot of it really looks like. In terms of the practical applications, I'm selling between about $400 to $600 of books a month. There are periods when I've sold like up to $1,500 or $2,000 a month. It really depends on the books and the values. What I found though is that when I list consistently 5 to 7 books a day, then I have more sales. Also, when I switched from not doing any promotions to doing eBay promotions, around 8 or 9%, they always take it. All my book sales always seem to be eBay promoted, which I find interesting. But I like quadrupled or quintupled the number of sales that I had compared to the years before when I wasn't doing promotions. So you just figure that kind of into the cost of the box. But a lot of this is how do you keep your life going, your career or job going, while maintaining your stock and inventory and selling and shipping. And that's, there's some things like that happen. Like if you look over here, we have bubble wrap. And then we look over here, we have more bubble wrap and stuffing and packing material. And there's something else right here. I want to show you this. This is probably the best ally that I have in my store. It's better than most insurance companies. And this, my friends, is a dehumidifier. This, my friends, is what keeps our stock from getting totally punked. And if you don't have a dehumidifier and you're working in a garage, you're putting all of your inventory at risk. So this makes me sleep better at night. Do some books still like get mold or whatever? Very rarely, but occasionally something does happen, but it's very rare. However, this thing's running 12 to 24 hours a day, depending on the season here in Oregon. And so that's, it's a healthy electric bill. But I'd rather pay the extra 50 or 75 or whatever it is, rather than losing, like thousands of books. So that's what's happening there. Here we have, as you can see, there's kind of like a palette here. This was the last collection that my partner built up, never went online. He spent 2 years building up a collection of signed war books, essentially snipers, Medal of Honor winners, etc. He built up a collection of about like 400 to 700 volumes in about 2 years. He was working like 12 to 18 hours a day building that up, and almost all of our money was going into building that inventory. It's sitting here right now. And you may be like, why is that sitting there, Craig? And it's one word: listing. There's only so much time to list. So what do you list? Where do you prioritize your listing? And for me, I packed these up because it was too much emotional stuff. Like after somebody dies, it's really hard to go through and process their stuff. So packed it up. It's nice, safe and sound. It's up here on a pallet. Water comes in here. It's still going to be relatively safe. Knock on wood, hope that never happens. But it means that I have inventory to list in the future, and I can work on my current inventory. But listing is really the most brutal part of selling on eBay, I think anybody would say, especially if you're a small-time seller and you're doing eBay as a side hustle. At least that's been my experience. That's what I see a lot of people talk about on eBay, like, the seller pros or whatever, but that's what I do. So next I'm going to go inside and show you the other inventory sorting section. If you look right here, this is kind of the inventory sorting section. This is a shelf that we bought a bunch of shelves when we had a brick and mortar store, and we bought some nice ones because we were selling high-end first edition signed, and that's pretty much still what I sell. I sell quite a few signed paperbacks as well, but this is what I consider my working shelves, like stuff's coming in or out. I may have it in a stage of listing and maybe described, or it may be photographed. I'm not really, this is also where loose random things accumulate. Somebody sends an inquiry, or there's an order for a book that gets canceled, or I don't know how to grade it, or if I'm not sure of the autograph, it goes over here, and then it sits there, and then when I have time to process that, I'll get to it. But listing is a lot more important than that. We'll go ahead and swing past the dog couch because I live with Great Danes, which is a different thing. And if you look over here, this is where my packing materials are. So there's some new boxes, occasionally used boxes, And then there's some of the stuffing and the padding. And over here also, you can see this light, whatever this thing is, it's made for using selfies, I think, for YouTube. It's brilliant. That provides good light. This one, so you can see on here, doing an unintentional advertisement. So you can have a light come down from there. There's some clamps here to hold your camera if you want to use that. There's also this kind of backlighting which can occur. I find it really useful not to put the camera on this because I like to adjust how my camera is being held over each book, but it's very good for the different levels of light. Then this is a reading lamp. This thing provides really good light as well. Having good light for the book photographs is really important. This is one of the most critical tools for packaging. Tape gun, and then always buy high quality packing tape. Never go cheap. Never ship in an envelope. Never ship in an envelope. Always ship in a box. Always preserve condition. Always wrap the books in bubble wrap. Always. It's the way to go. Otherwise, you're gambling with the books and you're not treating them with respect, in my opinion. So here what we have are books that I pulled from the bookshelves. All of these are signed. Most of them are inscribed. Most of these were in my personal collection. A number of them are from PM Press, Great Anarchist Press that was out of Berkeley. Or no, they were out of Oakland and then they moved back to the East Coast. There's some science fiction in here, I believe, and then there's a fair amount of poetry. So what I did is I typed up all the descriptions first so that I can figure out what their value is, and then I'm going to photograph them in batches, and then I'm going to process and post them. And you may be like, ooh, your house is a disaster, and that may be. And what is this towel over this for? This is to help preserve the condition of the books because I live with Great Danes. One of my Danes drools a lot, the other one doesn't. And if they drool, you want to see the Danes. They're actually not here. They went in the other room. I don't know why. That's the couch that they normally live on. And so sometimes they shake their head and drool flies, and I do not want drool going into the side of the books or onto the spines, and I want to preserve that condition. I don't want dog hair getting all over that. So I cover them up, make sure it's okay. If we go over here, you will see the temporary workstations, the boxes, which the books go into when I'm pricing them. You have the computer workstation. I do work for my job here. I also do work for my own business here. It's definitely a crossover. The computer is mine. It's not a work computer. But these are the important components of the immediate workspace. Last but not least, this is the library. And you may be like, whoa, what's going on there? These bookshelves were all in our bookstore when we had a brick and mortar store. And so that was one of the nice things that we kept, even though when we closed out, we lost a ton of money. We were able to keep the books. We were able to keep the books and the shelves. So what you have here is a bunch of inventory that's ready to get, like listed, i.e. described, photographed, and posted, and a bunch of different content. Then there's the books over there on the far wall, which may or may not get listed. It depends on if I want to sort them out. One of the best things, that I remembered recently, because you forget which books you have, right? There's like the entire Brian Jacques, or there's the first 25 volumes, I believe, of the Brian Jacques Redwall series. Last I checked, they were all first editions, first printings. They're either signed or they have his Christmas cards inserted. So if you're interested in all 25 volumes of Brian Jacques, hit me up. But the rest of this room, then there's also the personal and the private library, which is over here, then this is another sorting shelf right there. And so the real value of this is that I can use my private library space to see and look at beautiful books. These beautiful books are mostly on the side, with the glass case shelves over here. And then there's the middle zone. And then this is like the pre-sorting processing zone before I take them into the other room where I photograph them, describe them, and then put them into boxes so that I know where they're at. But one of the benefits is that I can look around and I can see what a beautiful, amazing library looks like. And then I know that what I'm doing in terms of selling books to other people is I'm helping them build the library that they want, something that's equally beautiful to them as my library is as beautiful to me. And so that's, really a lot of what the gist is. I also love some of these. I have difficulty in wanting to list them because they're in slipcases and because slipcase books are awesome. And then Down here, they're slipcased as well. A few of them, they're graphic novels, but they're still slipcased. And I love slipcase hardbounds because they're just fantastic. Here, we have a few more slipcase items right in here. We got the Anne Rice slipcase as well. So these things are beautiful, and I like to have them around and see them. But also, this is the integration of, hobby slash personal passion. I just want to close with the basic thing which I just said, sort of a kind of a summary, and that, selling books online with eBay, you're not going to get rich at it when you're doing it like I do with the kind of content that I do, which is signed first editions. Each book is generally, you have one of them, maybe you have 2 or 3 copies, right? So every single item you have to take photographs of, you write up the descriptions and you post them, and you're never going to be able to use that work again. It's been done once and you'll only do it once. It's not the same as like having 15, 20 versions of the same thing. And so figuring out which books to post, what order to post them in, understanding the amount of labor that goes into that. And if you have books that, defy description or they're challenging or you don't recognize them, do you invest time in it or do you just set it aside? And oftentimes you just set it aside until you have a stack of things that you set aside. And then maybe you'll hit it up later on. But the real thing I think that I love about this and why I think it's worth doing, and I would encourage people to do it, is you get to enjoy the books that you love. And in the process of you collecting the books that you love, you run across other things that have value to somebody else. So you get a good deal, you pick it up, you sell to somebody else, you make a profit. I mean, maybe a small profit, but you still make a profit. And then somebody else gets the book who was looking for it. Or maybe somebody else knows a lot more about books and then make big fat cash stack on it, but you still got paid. So a lot of it is enjoying the book trade and enjoying working with and handling books and hard copy books. And frankly, doing most, if not all of this outside of the Amazon platform. And yeah, I know eBay is a major platform as well. It's difficult to sell and to have security as a buyer or a seller on a platform, especially when you're dealing with items once they're over like 50 to 200 bucks. If you're selling like $1,000, $1,500, $2,000 book and you just have it up on some rando website, who's going to trust you? I mean, unless you're paying for, like membership in whatever society, the Antiquarian Booksellers Association, which I don't do because I'm not a full-time bookseller. So if you're a part-time bookseller, it makes sense to use platforms. Maybe Etsy would be a better place to go, but their fee scales seem to be a little bit crazy. But if Etsy works for you, cool. Again, the best thing here, kind of on a ramble, is being able to work with books while building your own collection and helping other people build their collection. And you're trying to make an honest profit. You're not trying to squeeze out too much. You're not giving it away. And you're also, unless you want to give away good books, but I'm not rich like that. So anyway, I hope this was useful to somebody. I hope maybe this can help explain a little bit of the smaller book trade on platforms that are like eBay. Did a bookstore. It was in the 90s. It was painful. Trying to get inventory without having a concrete face-to-face store like brick and mortar store can be pretty hard. But also, even if you like go to auctions and you're following the news and you're able to find out where good book auctions or book sales are, you have to have a cash roll. Like you need like 5 to 15K from what I can tell in order to buy significant collections. You got to have a vehicle that can carry it. And then you have to have a place to store it. And then you have to have the knowledge to evaluate and grade it. And with me, like I can't flip that career. I can't turn that on and I don't have that cash bump. So, how can I still stay involved in the book trade or be involved in the book trade at a small level, at an enjoyable level, selling beautiful things to people who want a beautiful item that means a lot to them, that the author touched at one point or another, and they can put it in their collection. That's dope to me. And in the meantime, I'm hoping maybe build up enough of a stack and I can pick up another signed Kawabata, pick up another signed Mishima. That's really what I'm working for is, build up some stack, maybe even pick up another, signed William Gibson. Those things are cool. All right. Thank you. Hope this was helpful. It might be a little bit rambly, but I figure, hey, a little bit of ramble might actually get you some more authentic information, some real information about what it's like. Best things I can say is that if you're interested in doing this, always be as honest as you can about the condition. And when you ship it, don't be cheap. Don't be cheap. Don't use those plastic envelopes. If you're use real legit like boxes and treat the book and send the book how you want to receive it. That's all I got to say. Like, protect and respect the book, protect and respect the collector, the person who's building the library. And hope you're reading some books and hope you read a good one today. Alrighty, thank you. Thank you for watching so long. As a reward for watching the entire video, here is the amazing Great Dane Cutter. And next up, we have the amazing Great Dane Gracie. And these dogs love books and they love living around a library.